What's up, YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. And in today's video, I'm going to do my 2023 schedule preview for the Ole Miss Rebels. But if you haven't, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And by doing so, it greatly helps out my channel and it helps me grow as a content creator. Well, the Ole Miss Rebels, uh, for the most part, last season was a pretty good team. Started off really good in the earlier part of the season. If I'm not mistaken, I think they went 8-5 and 4-4 in the SEC. So like I said, they won like their first 7 games, looked really good, and they kind of fell apart at the end of the season. And at one point in the season, they was fighting for the SEC West title, and could have gotten to the SEC championship. It's going to be interesting to see what Lane Kiffin can do this season, and we're going to look at their schedule and let's see if it's a possibility that Ole Miss can, you know, uh, make another shot at getting to the SEC championship and potentially win the SEC West. Like I said, went 8-5, 4-4. They had a 4-loss streak that they had at the end of the season. So like I said, it fell apart at the end. But we're going to get into their 2023 schedule. And their first matchup is against the Mercer Bears. Home game, the game Ole Miss should win. Get the experience, some experience for the younger guys, and just a matchup they should win. The next matchup is on September 9th against Tulane Green Wave. Now, they got to go to New Orleans, so they got to go on the road to Tulane. It's interesting. I noticed, these couple of schedules, these Power 5 schools are going on the road to these group of 5 teams. And that's an interesting, thing this season that I noticed. But Ole Miss got to go on the road to New Orleans, Louisiana to play the Green Wave. And Green Wave, a team, they're a pretty decent team, last couple of seasons. So might be a challenge for Ole Miss, but I expect Ole Miss to win that matchup. Then Ole Miss on September 16th to play Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Georgia Tech is a team just breaking in a new head coach, and don't know which way they're going to go. As far as are they going to be trending in a good direction? Because last couple of seasons, Georgia Tech just wasn't really that good, and like I said, they made a coaching change, and I believe their former head coach was Jeff Collins, and they have since went on from him and brought in a new head coach. But I feel like this is a game that Ole Miss should win as well. It's going to be interesting. Like I said, how Ole Miss is going to look, because their next matchup is going to be on September 23rd, and that's against the Alabama Crimson Tide, my Alabama Crimson Tide. They come to Tuscaloosa. It's going to be a home game for my Tide. And like I said, Ole Miss last season, early in that matchup, it looked like Ole Miss was going to run away with it. We could not stop the run. They put up a lot of rushing yards on us. Quinshawn Judkins, that guy is a beast of a player for Ole Miss. He's still there. He was a freshman last season. I expect him to get a lot of carries. But they lost last season 30-24 to my Tide, and they're definitely going to want to try to get revenge on that game. But it's going to be tough for them because they're going to be playing in Tuscaloosa. And I feel like Alabama's going to be on a tear this season. I think we're going to mean business. We're going to get back to the fundamentals, and it's going to be a huge matchup, in my opinion. It's always a good matchup between Ole Miss. In the past, they have beaten us, back to back. That was back in 14 and 15. And they had head coach Hugh Freeze. But Lane Kiffin, great offensive-minded guy, was at Alabama. He knows the culture. And Lane Kiffin would love more than anything to beat Nick Saban and have that on his resume, But it's going to be tough for him to come to Tuscaloosa and beat the Alabama Crimson Tide. But a huge road game for the Ole Miss Rebels. Then on September 30th, they got another tough game, but they host them at home, the LSU Tigers. LSU won the West last season. Like I said, it came down to LSU and Ole Miss on the winner who's going to represent the West. And LSU came out on top, was able to beat Ole Miss last season. They beat them 45-20, so a pretty decent margin of victory. And like I said, Brian Kelly going on his second year. Can he win the West again? He's on a mission to come in and dominate. But Lane Kiffin, like I said, gets a chance to right his wrongs from last season. Put up a better effort. Like I said, Ole Miss is going to be dangerous. They got a lot of quarterbacks. They got Jackson Dart. They brought in Spencer Sanders. I think he's going to be the guy. And LSU is trying to shore up their secondary. So this could be a matchup to watch, guys. Whoever becomes the quarterback is probably going to test LSU's secondary to see how good they are. But huge matchup for Ole Miss. They should have the advantage being at home, but LSU is going to be tough offensively and just good all the way around. Then they also host another great team on October 7th in the Arkansas Razorbacks. Another team to look out for. Could be a dark horse in the SEC West this season with Sam Pittman. Brought in 2 new coordinators. They bring back Rocky Sanders and KJ Jefferson, who's now is going to be trained and work on his passing downfield with Dan Enos. So then Arkansas's defense is going to be really, really good with Travis Williams. So interesting matchup. Last season, Ole Miss lost to them as well, 42-27. They pretty much ran up the score on Ole Miss, and tough games back to back. Got Alabama, LSU, then Arkansas. So, but they host the Arkansas Razorbacks, so they're gonna want to right their wrong there from last season. Then on October 14th, they're off. They get a bye week. Then on October 21st, they go to Auburn, go to Jordan Hare. Tough place to play. I always say that whenever a team goes to Auburn, it seems like Auburn just takes it up a notch. Interesting matchup. You got 2 great offensive-minded coaches in Lane Kiffin and Hugh Freeze. The Auburn Tigers thought, Lane Kiffin, there was rumor going around that Lane Kiffin was going to go to Auburn. Interesting matchup, guys. 2 great offensive-minded coaches. Going to see whose offense is going to take off for the most part. You're going to have really, really good offenses going on in this matchup, and it's going to come down to whose defense is going to step up. Of course, for defense for Auburn, they got Ron Roberts. Ole Miss now has Pete Golden, now former defensive coordinator. So which defense is going to step up in this matchup? It's going to be interesting. October 28th, Ole Miss plays the Vanderbilt Commodores. They beat them last season 52-28. Vanderbilt was able to put up some points on them, but I don't know where Vanderbilt's going to be like this season. So I expect, Ole Miss to come out on top in this matchup. But look out, Vanderbilt improved from last season. But most people will probably be picking Ole Miss to be the favorite in that matchup. November 4th against the Texas A&M Aggies, but you host them at home. Beat them last season. Very, very close matchup last season. Beat them 31-28. Beating them at home as well. Huge win for Ole Miss last season. Like I said, barely beat them, and you would think that Ole Miss would have the advantage, at home this season. But Texas A&M is doing they're revamping their offense with Barry Petrino coming in, and Jimbo Fisher is going to supposedly relinquish, his play calling abilities. That remains to be seen. We're going to see what happens, but should be a favorable matchup for Ole Miss that they're going to play them at home. And considering they beat Texas A&M last season at their house, so Ole Miss is going to have all the confidence in the world going into this matchup. Then, huge matchup, Saturday, November the 11th, I'm sorry. They got to go on the road to Athens, Georgia, and play the Georgia Bulldogs. Huge matchup. Georgia's going to be breaking in a new quarterback, but that defense is going to be really, really good. As long as Kirby Smart is there, that defense is going to be on point. Like I said, making a change at the quarterback position, probably going to be Carson Beck as the quarterback. Working under Mike Bobo, a guy that people are sleeping on. Mike Bobo, when he first came to Georgia a couple years ago, was really, really good. He greatly improved Georgia's offense. So A lot of people doubt, not sure what to make of Georgia offensively, but they still got weapons, all those weapons on the outside, and Georgia's going to be a problem, I think, this season once they get the offense clicking. But going on the road to Georgia, that's going to be a tough game for Ole Miss. But Ole Miss is going to have an advantage, in my opinion, because whoever starts, they've had, they've had some playing experience over whoever's going to start, for Georgia. Whoever starts for Georgia really hasn't started a game before, you know. You know, will that make a difference in this matchup? It's going to be interesting to see. Saturday, November 18th, Ole Miss plays the Louisiana Monroe Warhawks. Another matchup I feel that Ole Miss should uh, beat the other team, Louisiana Monroe. Should be a good game. Right before, on November 23rd, they play against the Mississippi State Bulldogs, and they got to go to Starkville this season, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Ole Miss lost to Mississippi State last season at home, 24-22, close matchup, and now they got to go on the road to play Mississippi State Bulldogs, a team don't know exactly how they're going to be. Bringing in new head coach Zach Arnett, they still have Will Rogers though, and they're breaking in a new offensive coordinator as well, and Kevin Barbay, former Appalachian State, offensive coordinator. So I think both teams are going to have a really, really good offense. And if Spencer Sanders is going to be the guy for Ole Miss, he's going to be going against Will Rogers. And you got two veteran quarterbacks. And that's going to be must-watch football to see for the Egg Bowl, around Thanksgiving. But that game is going to be really, really good. And I'm definitely going to watch that matchup. Then, of course, if Ole Miss wins the West, December 2nd, they'll play in the SEC championship game. But tough schedule, guys. On the road to Alabama, host LSU at home, host Arkansas at home, but got to go on the road to Auburn. Got to go on the road to Athens. Those are some tough games. Alabama, Auburn, Georgia. You playing all of those teams. Playing those teams on the road, and also play Mississippi State on the road. So those 4 games, man. And then, like I said, the Arkansas game, can't snooze over that game. Even though that's at home, Arkansas can be sneaky good. So just about every team, Texas A&M at home, still a sneaky team. But the SEC as a whole has just gotten better. And you got to play your best each week because any of these teams are capable of knocking off Ole Miss. And that's just with any team in the SEC, including my team. Any team can knock us off. The SEC is a brutal schedule, one of the hardest schedules in college football. And it's going to be interesting to see what Ole Miss can do with Lane Kiffin again. Like I said, he wants to right some of his wrongs and from last season, and he's going to be tasked. It's a tough schedule, but what do you guys think? Leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. And once again, guys, if you haven't, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll definitely be back with more college football content. Thanks, guys, and roll tide.